Feed prices are steadily rising, supply chains are becoming increasingly fragile, and while most chicken keepers have to reach deeper into their pockets every month, there are a handful of people who feed their animals nearly for free all year round. This isn't because they're lucky or necessarily live in the country, but because they've understood a system that nature has perfected over thousands of years. It's a system that is robust, functions self-sufficiently, and makes you independent of price fluctuations, supply bottlenecks, and external crises. In this video, I'll show you the three-system method. It forms the foundation of true self-sufficiency with chickens. By the end, you'll understand why this knowledge could be priceless in the coming years. Before we start, if true independence is important to you, then subscribe to this channel now and leave a like so more people see this video. Stay until the end, because that's where everything comes together, and you'll see why these three systems only unfold their full power when they work in tandem. Let's be honest, we live in a time when dependency has become the norm. We buy feed in bags that come from somewhere. We trust that the shelves will stay stocked and believe that it will always continue like this. But history teaches us something else. Every civilization that outsourced its food supply became vulnerable. The people who survived were those who understood local cycles and knew how to tap into resources right where they live. Chickens are not pets that you just feed. They are partners in a system that feeds you when you design it correctly. And that's exactly what today is about. The first system is the free-range area with strategic vegetation. Most chicken keepers think free range means a patch of lawn with a fence around it. Done. But that is a waste. A properly designed free-range area is a living feed system that produces for months without your intervention. Imagine your chickens aren't walking on dead grass, but on an area that is specifically planted with edible plants. Clover, alfalfa, chickweed, daisies, dandelions, and ribwort plantain. All of these are plants that chickens love, that regrow on their own, and that improve the soil while they thrive. You are not just creating a feeding area, you are creating an ecosystem. And in this ecosystem, nature works for you. The plants attract insects, which become a source of protein. The flocks of chickens loosen the soil, fertilize it with their droppings, and the system regenerates itself. This is no accident, it is design. Once you set up your free-range area correctly, you have free green fodder 12 months a year. And the best part? You don't have to harvest it, the chickens fetch it themselves. The second system is the worm farm as a protein source. Protein is expensive. Ready-made feed consists largely of soy, fish meal, or other imported protein sources. But chickens don't need industrial feed. They need living protein, and you can produce that yourself, with minimal effort and nearly without costs. A worm farm is a closed system that turns kitchen waste, garden scraps, and cardboard into high-quality feed. You feed the worms with what you would throw away anyway. The worms multiply, and the chickens regularly get fresh, living protein. 1 kilogram of worms can grow to several kilograms in just a few weeks if the conditions are right. And these conditions are simple: moisture, darkness, and organic matter. You can do this in a garage, in a shed, or even in a large box under a shelter. You don't need a high-tech facility, but rather an understanding of cycles. The worm farm not only provides feed, it also provides worm humus, one of the most valuable fertilizers there is. This closes the circle, because this humus makes vegetable beds more fertile, which in turn produces more green waste for the worm farm. This is self-sufficiency in its purest form. One system feeds the other. The third system is crop cultivation using the rotation principle. This is where it gets serious. This is where you leave dependency behind for good, because now you are specifically growing plants that you harvest, store, and feed when nature outside no longer provides. In winter, when the free-range area is bare and the worm farm produces less, you need reserves. You create these with crops that are specifically suited for chickens: pumpkins, zucchini, chard, Jerusalem artichoke, corn, and sunflowers. These are not exotic plants but robust, high-yielding crops that you can grow on a small area and that keep for months. A single pumpkin can supply your flock for days. A row of Jerusalem artichokes provides you with tubers that you simply leave in the ground and dig up as needed. You can dry corn and store it as grain feed. Sunflower seeds are pure energy. You grow all of this yourself with seeds that you either buy or propagate yourself. It's not complicated. It's a matter of planning. You divide your cultivation area into sections. Each section is planted in rotation so that something is always ripening while the next crop is already germinating elsewhere. Rotation keeps the soil healthy, prevents pests, and maximizes yield. All of this serves the goal. You never want to get into the situation where you are dependent on external sources. Now it gets important, because each of these three systems is already valuable on its own, but they only unfold their full power in tandem. Imagine your chickens start the day on the free-range area. They eat clover, peck at insects, and consume greenery. This covers a large part of their need for vitamins, minerals, and fiber. At noon, you give them a bowl of worms from your worm farm, highest quality protein, living and fresh. This covers their protein needs, keeps the laying performance stable, and strengthens the immune system. And in the evening, especially in the cold season, they get pumpkin, corn, or sunflower seeds from your own cultivation. Energy-rich, filling, and nutrient-dense. 3 systems, 1 cycle, 0 dependency. Very few people realize this. Self-sufficiency is not a single project. It is the networking of several systems that support each other. That is exactly why it works in the long term. Let's talk about the time commitment. Many think such a system is labor-intensive, but the opposite is the case. The initial investment is time. You set up the free-range area correctly once, build the worm farm once, and plan your cultivation once. After that, it runs itself. The free-range area regenerates on its own. The worm farm needs a bucket of kitchen waste every few days. The cultivation follows the rhythm of the seasons, which you already know anyway if you have a garden. You are not trading time for feed. You are trading one-time planning for years of independence. That is the difference between dependency and freedom. Stay tuned, because now come the details that make the difference. For the free-range area, you must pay attention to the size. You should plan at least 10 square meters per chicken, better more. Too little area means that the vegetation will be eaten away before it can regrow. Too much area, however, is no problem. On the contrary, more area means more regeneration, more diversity, and more stability. If you have the opportunity, divide the area into 2 sections and switch every few weeks. This gives the vegetation time to recover. This is called rotational grazing, and it is one of the oldest agricultural techniques. It works because it works with nature, not against it. For the worm farm, the most common question is, where do I get the worms? The answer is simpler than you think. You can order compost worms online from specialized suppliers or in garden centers. 1 kilogram of starter culture is perfectly sufficient. Or you go into a forest, lift up damp leaves, and collect them yourself. Worms are everywhere where organic material is decomposed. You just have to find them and give them a new home. The box should be dark, moist, and ventilated. Too wet is bad, too dry as well. You find the balance by observing. If the worms are active, it's working. If they want to escape or seem sluggish, something is wrong. But you'll notice that quickly and correct it then. This is not rocket science, it is attentiveness. In cultivation, the choice of varieties is crucial. Not every plant is equally suitable. You want robust, low-maintenance varieties that grow even under suboptimal conditions. Pumpkins are ideal because they can be stored for months and need hardly any care. Jerusalem artichoke is indestructible, grows almost anywhere, and reproduces on its own. You can dry corn and store it for years, and chard still delivers fresh greens even in winter when everything else has long since frozen. You don't look for the most exotic plants, but the most reliable ones. And you propagate these yourself year after year so that you don't even have to buy seeds anymore. Now comes the point where many fail: patience. These three systems don't build themselves overnight. The free-range area needs a season to establish itself. The worm farm needs weeks to really get going. The cultivation needs months until the first harvest is ripe. But that's not a disadvantage. That's the principle of sustainable systems. They grow slowly, but they last forever. While they grow, you learn. You observe what works and what doesn't. You adjust and improve. With each year, the system becomes more stable, more efficient, and more productive. This is crucial. You aren't just building a project, you are building a livelihood. Let's talk about crisis resilience. Imagine feed prices double, or the supply chains break down for weeks, or there are shortages that no one could have foreseen. For most chicken keepers, that would be a catastrophe. For you, it would only be a shake of the head, because your chickens eat what grows on your land. They eat what comes from your worm farm and what you store in your cellar. You are not part of the problem, you are the solution. The feeling that this gives you is priceless. It's not indifference, it's sovereignty. The biggest misunderstanding about self-sufficiency is that it's about sacrifice, that you want to go back to the Stone Age or make life hard for yourself. But the opposite is true. Self-sufficiency means control. It means that you know the quality of your feed, that you know what's in your eggs, and that your animals are healthy because they are fed in a species-appropriate way. It means that you are no longer dependent on markets that you cannot influence. That is not a step backward. It is freedom at the highest level. What many don't see: these three systems train you. They teach you how nature works, how plants grow, how worms behave, and how chickens actually live if you let them. You become an observer, a designer, and a systems thinker. These skills transfer to everything else in your life, to your vegetable garden, your water supply, or your energy self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is a mindset, and it begins with a single system that you consistently build up. Finally, a thought that is often overlooked: community. When you build these systems, you will notice that others show interest. Neighbors ask, friends want to learn, and suddenly a network of people who think similarly, share knowledge, and support each other emerges. This is no accident, but the natural consequence of independence. Whoever is independent has something to give, and whoever gives becomes part of something bigger. The three-system method is no secret. It is logic, experience, and it is proven. Thousands of self-sufficient people all over the world use exactly these principles. They have understood that true security does not lie in the supermarket, but in what you can create yourself, in the systems you control, and in the ability to remain capable of acting even when uncertainty reigns around you. The question is not whether this method works. The question is whether you are ready to take the first step. This step is not big and not complicated. It just has to be decisive. You start, build one system, then the next, and then the one after that. Eventually, you look back and realize that you are no longer dependent. You have created something that sustains, that remains, and that feeds you as well as your animals. No matter what happens out there, that is the promise of self-sufficiency. Not autarky at any price or isolation, but the certainty that you can act, that you have solutions, and that you are not at the mercy of others. This certainty is worth more than gold in uncertain times. If this video helped you, then subscribe to the channel now, activate the bell so you don't miss any more videos, leave a like, and share this video with people who have the same goal as you. Write to me in the comments, which of the three systems do you want to build first? Have you already had experience with it? I read every comment and answer as often as I can, because this is a community of people who have understood that true security begins with ourselves. Thank you for being here this far. We'll see you in the next video. If these strategies have changed your view of nature and independence in your garden, Then subscribe to our channel now. We reveal the cycles that the modern system wanted to make you forget. Become part of the movement and sow freedom. The next chapter of self-sufficiency will be opened soon.